I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today is a little bit of a different video for me. So today I'm going to be talking about the possibility that we may be going a little bit too far with our fan theories and the impact that this can have on our enjoyment of our favourite TV shows. So as a little bit of a disclaimer before we begin, I do love to theorise about TV shows. So this video isn't going to be me sitting here and telling you not to theorise, because if you're new to my channel, I think you wouldn't know this, but I started my YouTube channel basically to talk about fan theories. A big show that I talk about is BBC's Ghosts. I talk a lot about the theories of like how the ghosts died, where the show will be going in the future. So yeah, I love to do it. I love reading people's fan theories. So this video isn't going to be me here sitting saying don't theorise about TV shows. It's just kind of more of a ramble comment on some of the things that I've been seeing and some of the things I've been experiencing recently in regards to fan theories. This is something that I have been feeling for a while, and I think it's something that definitely becomes more prevalent when a massive big show is airing, something that loads of people are watching at the same time. So when I watch things like Taskmaster and I theorise about Taskmaster and future tasks, who could win, people like things like that, I don't feel that this has as much of an impact because it's quite a small, close-knit community. Obviously it is a big show, but at least the people that I engage with on a regular basis are people that are like, we feel quite close-knit, even though like I don't know people personally. It just feels like a nice environment. Whereas when a bigger show airs, you are kind of thrust into the whole public and everybody's giving their theories, and it can be a bit overwhelming. This is something that I noticed recently while watching series 2 of Severance. I will be using Severance as an example throughout, so if you haven't seen it, if you haven't caught up, then please don't watch this video because I will probably give spoilers and I really don't want to spoil the show for anybody. So yeah, you have been warned. As I mentioned, I really like theorising, and because there was such a large gap between season 1 and season 2 of Severance, I had a lot of time to like stew and think about different theories, where I thought the show was going, find Reddit pages that also had people theorising, find YouTube accounts that were coming up with theories. So I was really enjoying myself. I thought, great, this is my next show to talk about. I did feel like it wasn't really something that I could bring to my channel because I felt a little bit like, oh, this show is too smart for me. I'm not going to be able to figure things out. Not that I necessarily want to figure it all out exactly, but that my theories just aren't going to be as good as what's going to happen. I absolutely loved engaging with other fans, reading fan theories, watching videos, and I carried this on throughout series 2 when it was aired. As soon as an episode finished, I jumped on to the Reddit forums and read people's theories about what happened in the episode. And obviously there's theories that I would agree with, theories that I would disagree with, things that I would never in a million years have thought of, and also just the amazement of people's attention to the show. Like, they were watching it obviously like scene by scene, shot by shot, so it was really fun and I really enjoyed it. But as the series went on, I did feel a little bit disheartened, a little bit overwhelmed, and there are quite a few reasons why. I'm going to go in briefly. This video isn't going to be the most well-researched thing. I'm not going to have sources or things to back up. It's just going to be my experience, and I feel like it'll be relatable. I've kind of seen this sentiment go around, but yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you guys think as well. One way that I think fan theories may be going a little bit too far is just because of how many theories we get to see, especially with such a big show, and how many people are engaging in this idea of like theorising about the shows. So we go from talking to your friend about, oh, where do you think this show is going, to seeing hundreds of people's opinions online and just becoming a bit inundated with different theories or the same theory repeated over and over and over again. This has become so big that the actors, the writers, the directors of Severance are coming out and like disproving theories because they go a little bit too far and become just something that people are shouting about for answers. So the most prominent example of this I can think of with Severance is the final scene. Again, if you haven't caught up, please don't keep listening. A big theory that loads of people were discussing when the episode airs was whether or not it was Heli R at the end scene. And this is something that I personally didn't believe in. I was like, oh, that's obviously Heli R, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't something that I was particularly engaging with, but it was something that I saw repeated again and again. It left me thinking, like, am I just being really dumb? Am I the one that's not noticing this? Like, is this something that I should be picking up on? Is it something that I should be thinking about, even though I personally don't believe that? So many people were insisting on it, were shouting about it, were tweeting, or X, I don't know. So many people were making videos about this theory, were saying, oh my God, this is definitely true. And then the actors actually came out and spoke about it and said, no, that's definitely Heli R. And it was a weird moment, I think, for me, because obviously you can have actors talk about theories, talk about where the show's going. People talk about it in like a newspaper review about it, or like an interview with the press. Like, it's something that the people who've seen the show may comment on and ask for the actors' opinions. But I don't think I've ever seen it as like almost seemed like a direct retaliation to all these fan theories. It was like they wanted to kind of let it lie and let it die. And I do have some issues, I guess, with this, about them actually having to come out and say yes or no, this theory is wrong. First of all, is it a spoiler? Is it a spoiler to say a theory is right or a theory is wrong? I guess they wouldn't really say whether a theory is right, but to say it's wrong, is that a spoiler? Because it's for some people that might be where they think the show is going. It's a twist that they have done. Just because they've done a twist once doesn't mean that they won't do it again, whether or not you agree with that. It's a tool, especially because the show focuses so much on identity and who these, like, what's the difference between an innie and an outie. It makes sense that they will play with who it is. Like, is it the innie or the outie? Do I think that they will do it with the same person and have it as a prominent twist more than once? Probably not, but I don't think it's that unreasonable for people to think. So for some people, this can definitely be a spoiler. And then is the absence of a confirmation that this theory is not correct also indicative that it could be true in the future and therefore is a spoiler? I just think it could be a potentially problematic road to go down if actors are having to come out and say yes or no, this is wrong. It's just something that I've never really experienced before. Similarly for this, I think we are having a bit of a problem, and I feel like this is a problem just on the internet in general. It's just people just fighting with each other, and I think to fight about something that, not to like diminish people's feelings, but it's something that's unimportant as a television show theory. And I've just been seeing so many people be so mean and horrible for somebody for getting a theory wrong, when they're also probably coming up with theories that aren't true. I just think it's a bit, it's unnecessary to begin with, but also like, why are we taking something that we like and arguing about something? And again, as I said, I know this is something that people on the internet just love to do, but like, surely that's ruining your enjoyment of things and taking these theories so seriously and like really fighting for something to be true and insisting it's true. I just don't think it's that helpful for the viewers or for the show creators themselves. And I think to link back to the whole creators and the actors and the writers having to come out about this, does this put an expectation on them to then come out and say, yes, a theory is right, yes, a theory is wrong? I also feel like our intense theorising about the shows is putting more pressure on the writers and the directors and the whole creatives involved in the production of the show. Because if we've got people going by shot, trying to pick up on different clues, it kind of limits the writers, I think, and the creatives. They might feel that they can't put in a funny little Easter egg about something that links back to something that already happened because that will be picked apart by fan theories, or people will think that has to have something to do with this major plot line, when in fact it's just something that was chucked in for fun. Same with like using things for like symbolism, or like having just things in the background to just build a scene where everything's going to be picked up on. And I also feel like it's quite harsh for the directors and the producers and everybody, because they can't have like any continuity errors, because something as simple as like a coffee stain on like being left on the table just by accident could then lead to a bunch of theories, and is either theories or they're just picking people apart. Everything that they put into the show is now expected to be commented on, is expected to be torn apart, picked apart to find out what meaning it has. And not everything has to have a meaning, and I feel like people as fans are getting a little bit obsessed with this idea that, oh, everyone's so brilliant who comes up with Severance, which they are, it's an amazing show, but not everything has to have a profound meaning. My favourite example of this is in Severance Season 2, when Mark is at the Chinese restaurant and talks to Helena, and Helena refers to his wife by the wrong name. And this was, again, picked up on loads. People were coming up with these elaborate theories about what this meaning of the name could be, how that relates to like Mark's situation and everything like that. And these were incredible theories. You'd look at them and think, wow, that is so impressive. And it was just something that was improvised by the actor. Like, it had no meaning apart from to be perhaps a little something mean that the character was doing, or something to get on his nerves. It wasn't something that had this profound meaning. And then the same people who were saying, wow, that's so amazing, were saying, oh my God, you're so dumb. Why would you think that had anything to do with this? And I feel like it's that infighting that's perhaps made me feel a little bit deflated every time I kind of finished reading fan theories, because you read one person's theories and then you read 100 people's opinion on that theory. And I feel like we're perhaps overwhelming ourselves a little bit with just how many people we're talking to about these things. I also think there is the chance that people can get disheartened that if the show does not go the way that they theorised. Obviously, it's amazing when you think, oh, I think this is going to be a twist, or I think the show's going to go in this way, and it does. Like, you feel like a genius, like it's amazing. And surely that will be the same for people who are so insistent on a theory being correct that when it's proven wrong, either through the show going in a different direction or by one of the creatives coming out and saying, no, that's not what happened, they might feel that they are let down by the show, that it's not as good as they want it to be. And obviously, I feel like people are going to be like that in any situation. There's always going to be people who think they're smarter than the writers or whatever, or feel like a character should behave in a certain way. But, like, you know, if we have 100 fan theories about what an ending of a show is going to be, there's only one ending to the show. Like, so 99 of them are going to be wrong. So I feel like people are just kind of setting themselves up for a bit of disappointment, maybe, because like if you watch a show without ever talking to other people about it, without ever engaging on fan theories, you may come up with 1 or 2 or 3 different ideas about where the show could go. And yeah, that none of them may happen, one of them might, or you might have a mix of them. But I feel like there's such an insistence on people being right that if that then doesn't happen, people might feel disappointed. And I feel like on the flip side, if we go back to the whole Helena R twist, if they do that again, like, that's fine. They might have a valid reason to do that. But I've seen people discount theories by saying, no, they would never do that. That's not smart. That's dumb. That's bad writing. And it's like, well, you don't know where they're going with the show. So they might have a really great way to tie in that twist again, or to do something similar or with a different character. So saying it's bad writing if they do that when you don't know what they're writing, when you don't know the ending of the show, again, just sets you up, I think, to be a little bit disappointed by the show. I saw people say, if they do that twist again, I'm going to stop watching the show because that's bad writing. Like, are you really going to stop watching the show? Will one theory of yours being wrong really affect your enjoyment of the show too much? And I think what I said again about this, people insulting each other, is tied into this idea that media literacy is such a buzzword at the moment. So if you don't understand something in a show, you are seen as lacking media literacy, which for some people, they aren't paying attention to the show, or perhaps they don't understand some meanings of symbolism and things like that. But not everyone's going to. Everybody has different strengths. Some people just want to sit down, enjoy a show without thinking about it too much. And I think, as I said, like, it's such a buzzword. If people get a theory wrong, or you disagree with a theory, or like you think, oh, maybe this could happen, you don't just get somebody pointing out, it's like, oh, that sounds good, but it can't happen because of this. They were like, oh, you lack media literacy because you missed this detail. And again, what I said with people going through and watching it shot by shot, that's not how you watch a TV show. So of course there's going to be things that people miss out on. So like in Severance, the name of the cot being called Gold Harbour, or like the similar word to Cold Harbour, people spotted that because they went through it scene by scene. Like, no normal person watching it is going to notice that. And then to get to the end and think, oh my God, that had something to do with the cot. It's like, well, you lacked media literacy because you didn't see it. And it's like, well, are we expected now to go through every single shot of the show, to find out every little detail, to remember every little detail, to be able to understand the show? No, it was, yes, a hint, but I don't think it didn't ruin your enjoyment to not notice that. And if we're noticing everything and if you're insisting on there being hints everywhere, then aren't you going to spoil the show for yourself? If people, I think very smartly, and I don't think it's a twist that people weren't meant to figure out, but with the Heliar twist, I thought something's off with Heli a little bit, and there were a few things that led me to think, is that Heli or is that not? But I was a bit confused. I think when you're watching Severance, you're supposed to be a little bit confused. But some people did figure out that twist, and they had so much evidence as to why they thought that was not Heli. Is that a spoiler? Was that just spoiled for me because I read someone's theory about why all these things were right? Does that ruin that really high tension scene when it was revealed that it was not Heliar? And it kind of begs the question as to, are we losing that line between what the viewer is meant to know and what the viewer is not meant to know? Because obviously they're going to put little hints in, there's going to be foreshadowing, there's going to be character differences. There are things that, if you rewatch it again, you might pick up on and be like, oh yeah, that's definitely not Heli. But is it something that we are supposed to know? Because if we're supposed to know it, then does that ruin the twist that we have? And yeah, I just feel like we're walking that difficult line between blurring the line between what we are supposed to know, what we're supposed to pick up on, and what we're supposed to be surprised by. And I feel like people who are going through shot by shot are perhaps ruining that surprise later on. Because if you have 100 theories about where every single character is going to go, you're not going to be surprised, because you'll be like, oh, they went with that idea. Not, wow, I never expected that happening. So I do feel like it's quite a bit difficult to keep up as a viewer who perhaps isn't as intense as going through every scene. I don't really know what the answer is to any of this. This has definitely been more of a ramble rant, just about how I've been feeling, and how it's perhaps been dampening my enjoyment of certain things, especially as somebody who does like to theorise about TV shows and come up with fun ideas. But I guess, if people are enjoying themselves, if people love to come up with a million different theories and watch a TV show meticulously, then keep doing that. That's amazing. But I don't want people to feel, who are kind of dipping their toes into, theorising and things like that, to feel like they're not smart enough, that they have to sit there and watch a show for hours and hours and hours and rewatch it 10 times before the next episode comes out. You don't have to do that to come up with theories. And I feel like with Ghosts, I would watch the series and then come up with ideas. It was always things that I thought oh, that's a really cool idea, or I'd read a theory from somebody else and think, wow, that would work really well. But with now, I feel like it's less of coming up with different ideas of where the show could go, and this insistence of being right, or trying to be right, to try and figure out what's going on in the writers' heads, when half the time I bet the writers don't even know where it's going to go. They might have a rough idea, but they might not know how they're going to get there. I do just feel it is linked to this desire to be right, to figure it out before everybody else. And I guess that just differs to how I enjoy theorising about shows, which is probably why it's not a good idea for me to perhaps keep engaging as much as I am and to kind of step away. And I know people have, particularly when watching Severance, who didn't engage with any of it because they're like, I just don't want it to be potentially spoiled for me, because some of them are right. Some people are coming up with ideas that may not be exactly right, but then it could then lead you to figure out something that you perhaps don't want to figure out, that you want to be surprised by. And perhaps this is just a problem for me because I spend too much time on the internet, and I will fully admit that. But I do think it's an interesting idea that perhaps we should take a step back. We should perhaps not immediately jump on to fan theory boards. We should perhaps take a minute to sit back and just let ideas in our own heads flutter about, and see if anything sticks. And then maybe later on go and read some theories. It's definitely something that I'll be paying a little bit more attention to, and perhaps explore a little bit further if people want a more coherent video. I'll be interested to know what you guys think. Do you feel like you've been inundated with theories? I mean, me particularly, I was reading stuff on Reddit, I was watching TikToks and reels about it, YouTube shorts, YouTube videos. I couldn't take one step, take one look without seeing a Severance theory. And perhaps that's why it's particularly affected me now, because it is a show that I love. It was a show that I was so much looking forward to, and I don't really think it ruined my experience of watching the show. I still had a great time. I was surprised by a lot of things. I also think there is an expectation as well to consume every piece of theory that you get. Like going back to the Heliar thing, people then being like, watching the episode perhaps a few days later, being like, oh, does anyone think that that could be Helena? And people being like, oh, well, have you not seen what the actors said because they debunked that already? It's like, you need to A, consume it, like the show immediately, B, read all the different theories, come up with your own theories, and then see if they've been debunked before you share them. Like, I just think it's a weird culture that we are cultivating at the moment. And I don't know how to stop that. And I guess it is just, there's millions of people in the world. Not everyone's going to be nice. And people enjoy things in different ways. But I don't know. I know this has probably been an issue for a long time. But it's something that I'm just kind of experiencing now. I know I did experience a little bit when Game of Thrones was coming out, because obviously that was massive. And Line of Duty in the UK, when the last season of that came out, I did a theory video on it. And I wasn't right, but that's fine. Like, you don't have to be right. And, with that as well, with Line of Duty, I don't think anybody was happy with that ending. Was that because we all came up with theories that were better? Was it just because we all had ideas that we preferred to how the ending went? Like, not every ending of every show that you watch is going to happen the way you want it to happen. I do think there's also a risk, although probably quite small, that if there is a really, really prevalent fan theory going around, the writers may cave. Like, if people are saying, I'm not going to keep watching if this happens, or I'm not going to keep watching if they do that twist again, they might think, oh, damn, I was going to be doing that twist, like we had that planned, maybe we'll scrap that. Do we want the writers to just cave to people's every whim if they perhaps don't like the direction that a show will go in? Like, I do think there's a difference between bad writing and not liking it personally. Like, that's just an opinion. Like, I think we are also just kind of mixing up what's a fact and what's your opinion. And I don't, obviously the writers will want you to enjoy the show, but do we want them to change the way the show is going because people are demanding that their theory be right, or they're demanding the show goes in a different way? And not that I think that will happen, but I do think certain shows have caved to fan service occasionally. I don't know if it's something that will happen, and I hope it doesn't, because I want to see what's in the writers' heads. I want to see where they envision the show going, because I'm watching it because they made it, not because I made it. I'm watching it because it's coming from their brains, from their collaborative brains, from their experience, their passion, and I want to enjoy that as a viewer. I don't want them to come up with my ideas, because I might have one or two good ideas now and then, but I probably have a billion bad ideas. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I said, it's a difficult line, and I think we might just be crossing it a little bit occasionally, especially with these big shows. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Is this something that you've been thinking about? I know I've definitely seen this sentiment expressed online occasionally, just that they think there's just too much going on, and are we being oversaturated with it all? But yeah, I'll be interested to see what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, then please leave a like. It's really appreciated. And subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I talk about a range of different TV shows, and I'm still probably going to keep doing my theory videos because I do enjoy them. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!